If we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
As an independent podcast, we couldn't do what we do without your support. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss.
If you keep us caffeinated, we'll keep the content coming.
It's so great because that's where you've found a link between what you're doing now and that company without you going, well, you probably deal with XYZ in your company too. You don't have to do that part.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey Em, and welcome back everyone. We are always telling you guys to shoot your shot, so in every episode we tell you about a listener who's done exactly that. This ep, we're shouting out Amanda, who bought us 5 coffees. Thanks Amanda.
She said, "Thank you both so much. I just landed the job I've been wanting for years. In college, I had a personal emergency and had to drop out for a bit. This derailed me and my mental health, and I was no longer able to get back into the curriculum with my old major without adding a semester to my graduation date, which I couldn't afford. So I switched to a similar major, but it wasn't the same. Then I took a job at a startup instead of a more stable offer, only for the startup to move operations overseas and lay me off 3 months later. I started working at an office job just to pay back my loans, but I wasn't learning anything or using my degree. I was so scared to go back into a job that I cared about that I stayed there for almost 2 years. When I did look, I was asked why I would stay as a secretary when I said I wanted to be in an analytical role. Everything changed when I found your podcast. I was able to articulate my career story in a way that was both true and sounded professional and intentional. I could answer questions, work my best bits in, and even just hearing your wording and logic behind answers helped me emulate that in the interviews for curveballs, which there were a lot of. It helped me build my confidence, and I listened to your podcast for support for everything from the interviews, my resume, and quitting. In the US, the job market is tough right now, but I landed a role doing what I want to do at a Fortune 100 company. I was told it was one of their most competitive seasons too. Now I feel like I've truly bounced back from the issues I had in college and I'm back on track. I know I have a lot to offer and I'm on my way to my first in-person day at work. Thank you both so much."
Oh, don't you just love that? A couple of bits of bad luck and she was kind of feeling like, oh, it's ruined. All those things are now going to hold me back from getting back to where I should be.
Yeah, and her situation is a perfect example of kind of a bit of a clunky career story that has lots of twists and turns and that people stress so much about trying to convey in an interview. Sometimes it makes them want to hide it or be really vague, and that can make it worse. So to hear that she just owned it and communicated her story with clarity and it paid off because now she's where she wants to be is so amazing.
And I think that people sometimes hear, oh, people want to know, why she stayed in a reception role for 2 years. And they think of that as the interviewers are being really harsh or what does it matter? But they're trying to understand you, really. They're trying to say hey, what's changed? You said you've always wanted to do this. Well, then what have you been doing for 2 years then if you've always wanted to do this? Does that connect? They want to understand what's different, what's changed. And for her, I don't know what she ended up saying, but maybe it's something like, I wasn't ready yet. I just needed some time to just settle and get comfortable again. And now I'm ready to do that thing that I have always wanted to do, but I'm comfortable. I've got some stuff sorted and now it's time. And then they're like, oh, cool.
Or maybe she said, I needed to start paying back my student loans and I was just focused on having a means to an end.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, maybe there was a different priority in her life. It doesn't matter what the reason is. They're just trying to understand, level with me here. If this has always been the plan, what was the plan 2 years ago or what's been the plan? It's just curiosity, and being upfront with it is sometimes just the easiest thing, once you get over the mental hurdles. Congratulations, Amanda.
On a personal side note, I just finished paying off my student loans, aka My HEX debt is what we call it in Australia. Big milestone. Very exciting. Abolish all student debt, please.
Government student debt in Australia and nowhere near the levels that we see in some other countries.
Totally.
But still an incredible milestone.
Yes. Before we get into this episode, if you need more help than we can fit in a podcast, go check out our website for free templates, coaching services, and our interview academy.
Today, we are talking about the advice that you may have heard or that you may be using at the moment, that in your interview answers, you need to be linking it back to the job that you're applying for. Have you heard this before, Em?
I've heard it a lot in English class in high school. Link it back to the question.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. That is literally what I thought as well. I was like, I feel like someone's gotten this from like an essay where they're like, each point that you make, you need to
link it back to your thesis.
Yeah, what's your thesis? Does it support whatever? And it makes sense. If you're forming an argument, yeah, really important. I don't think we're forming an argument necessarily in an interview. I mean, some might say you're forming the argument of why should you hire me, but I would disagree with that. And if you've listened to our podcast, you probably get that take. I think that it's not the worst advice I've ever heard. And hey, it would probably be more, viral of me to say, this is why linking it back to the interview is ruining your chances. But I don't think that's the case. It's not terrible and it's not that you shouldn't.
The clicks on our profile would boom.
I know, right? And we would just really have everyone eating out of the palm of our hand. But alas, we have integrity. And so therefore our social media is a barren wasteland. It's not just because of that. We don't give it enough time. But it's not that it's terrible advice and it's not that you shouldn't do it. I just think that the reason people tell you to do this, the objective they're trying to get you to achieve is good. I just don't think this is the best way to achieve that objective. So I guess that pivots us into, well, why would someone tell you that you need to link it back to the job that you're going for? Like, why would that be a good thing?
I feel like it comes from wanting the interviewer to be able to imagine you in the job they're hiring for. It's almost like you're doing the work for them. You're like, and this is how that directly correlates to the job description or the tasks that you've described to me.
Yeah, you're kind of making it really easy for them to see the connection between the skills that you have and think about what I could do for your company. I've done all these things here. I could do X, Y, Z for your company. Like that's kind of where they're going with that. You might want them to hear your example about something that you did, but maybe they've got a different set of circumstances. And so you maybe want to point out, here's how that applies to your different scenario, but I would still be using these same skills or, X, Y, Z would still apply.
Which these are all valid reasons and I can see why this checks out to a lot of people.
Yeah, linking it back. Like I get it. I really get it. But the issues that I kind of see with that is that you don't know all of their challenges, their scenarios, their situations. Sure, some of them might be in the job description. And so it might be kind of obvious, like, hey, we need you to be really creative and coming up with new ideas. Okay, great. Well, then that's clearly what they need you to do. But you don't really know that behind the scenes, they have a team that's very analytical and everyone's been doing the same thing for a while. And so they need someone who can not only come up with the idea, but also win everyone over and get them excited about it as well. Like you don't know all of those bits and pieces of extra context. And so you can't link it as well. Like if we use the English example.
If you didn't have the thesis.
If you didn't write the thesis. Then how are you going to link it back to the thesis? You don't even know what the thesis is. You don't know exactly what kind of person they're looking for so that you can make your case to be that person.
You don't have the marking criteria, the rubric. Have you heard the word rubric? When was the last time you heard the word rubric? I've just been transported back 10 years.
I don't know. I feel like I have heard that. I don't know. I think it's still around. I think it's still kicking around. Yeah, I don't think anyone said it to me.
Yeah, that's never been used in a non-school context.
Yeah, it's very education specific.
Like comment below on Spotify if you work somewhere where there's a corporate rubric.
That's actually really common. They probably don't call it a rubric. It's like a learning matrix or a skills matrix or a competency matrix or yeah, there's all kinds of different things in learning and development world, HR world. But you touched on something, Em, and I want to challenge that just in case anyone out there is thinking the same thing. You mentioned you don't have the selection criteria in front of you. Well, what we're talking about here is not necessarily the selection criteria. It's like the layer on top of that. Because you might actually have the selection criteria. Maybe they published it. Maybe you both all share the selection criteria. But what you don't have is when it says managers challenging clients.
Yeah, it's the invisible selection criteria. That's what I mean. You don't have access to because they don't even know. It's not a written thing. It's like vibes and their knowledge on their existing team. And so sometimes they don't even know what it is. Therefore, you don't even know what it is.
The same kind of selection criteria requirement, like ability to lead and motivate a team, can mean two very different things depending on exactly what that team's like and what the context is of the rest of the organization around it. You might be like, well, that's really going to take a really strong, tough person. Or you might think, actually, no, a person like that would really not gel well with the team. We need someone who is a really collaborative, gentle leader. Like, it depends on what kind of a team that they've got. So being able to lead a team, like, this is what we're always talking about here, is that we don't know the elements of you that they might pick up and go, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's exactly what we've been looking for.
Yeah. And on that note, if you then don't have all of the information and then you say something at the end like, yeah, and your team, from what I can see, is struggling with this, so I would be able to really, that can come across a bit like tone deaf, maybe a bit like, oh, that doesn't sit well, that you're making assumptions on what we're dealing with. You don't really know.
Yeah, you're taking a really obvious direct stab at saying, I think you're dealing with this. And they might be like, not really. And it's like, they kind of are, but you just said it in a way that they didn't really resonate with. And then you've just kind of derailed.
Yeah. And often too, if you've just finished a really great best bit, and best bits end by doing the result. And so you're saying like, in the end, I did this epic thing. We satisfied 400,000 customers. Everyone was happy. It was really great team effort. That's a strong ending. But if you're then trying to put in a really vague linking back sentence at the end, the ending can just flop, because you're like, and so I would use that same determination to make sure that when I'm dealing with your clients, like, I go above and beyond.
Yeah, you've ruined your mic drop ending.
Yeah.
Also, can we just talk about like, I've satisfied 4,000 clients?
I know my example.
That was horrible.
I already know you're going to say that. I'm thinking on my feet. I'm trying to think of a stupid generic example. Everyone listening, don't freak out that your best bits didn't include, an achievement like that. It's just my default.
I mean, the sus wording. Don't you think like we've satisfied? That the sentence is just all wrong. It just makes me think bad things about what that industry is. Like, hey, maybe you're working for a, intimate toy company and we've satisfied however many 100,000. Well, yeah, that works. But the wording is probably not what I'd recommend.
I knew as soon as it come out of my mouth that you were about to say something.
Did I have a look on my face or something?
I just know you.
Or you just heard it yourself?
Let's move on.
Okay. So I have done a lot of work for this episode. I do lots of work for all of our episodes, but in this one in particular, I really felt like 2 examples were going to just make it really obvious. We're going to just make it really easy to understand where I'm coming from with this. So I've done an example that I think is really common, where people have an okay interview answer. It's not very strong, but they tack on a link back at the end. And then we're going to compare it with an alternative option. And I think you'll be able to see the difference. Now, I deliberately don't like the idea of making this first version really obviously terrible. I think that kind of destroys the point. The idea is you're going to hear this and think, hey, that's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought. But then you'll hear the other one and you'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I changed my mind. I'm hoping. A little bit of foreshadowing.
Okay, so Sarah's going to ask me an interview question. I'm going to give her a response that includes the link back, and then we'll discuss.
So Emma, in account management, you deal with lots of different types of clients. Occasionally you deal with clients that may be more difficult or have various issues that you might need to solve. Can you tell me about a time that you've done that before?
Yeah, definitely. So when I started working at the printing company, I had a client who was complaining about our turnaround times, and he felt that his requests weren't being prioritized. He could be quite challenging and difficult to deal with, and the relationship wasn't great. Our operations team dreaded hearing that an order had come in from him because there was just always issues. So I took the time to really listen to their concerns and understand where they were coming from. And yeah, I've really found in my time that when clients are angry, they just want to be heard. And so listening often diffuses the situation. So even though I couldn't change our entire process or make any real deadline guarantees, I spoke with our operations team and worked with them to come up with an idea that would, help improve the situation. So I made sure I communicated with the client more regularly and kept them updated so that they felt like they knew what was happening instead of them having to chase us. That was proactive. Over time, the relationship did improve a lot, which was great. The client was grateful for the effort that I put in, and they became much easier to work with after that. So my manager was pleased of how I handled it, because then, the operations team were happy and it was just a better vibe all around. The client was happy without making, promises that we couldn't deliver on. So I understand that this role would involve working with some really challenging clients as well. So I think that example demonstrates that I would definitely be able to listen to their concerns, communicate effectively, and work with all other areas of the business to find a solution. I'd be really confident using that same approach in this senior account manager role.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think?
First of all, I felt like there could have been a bit more examples in the best bit. It sounds like he's like, yeah, I talked to the team and we found something that would better meet their needs. Well, what was it?
I know. Doesn't it just leave you going, but what? But what was the problem? And how did you solve, what was the solution? How creative were you? Was it a big, easy answer, or was it really complicated and you had to come up with something brand new? I have no idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would have liked some more information there. But overall, yep, good example, angry customer, putting in proactive comms diffuses them. But yeah, the end just felt weird.
Yeah.
It just felt like
tacked on.
Trying to shove a square in a triangle.
So I kind of think if we go into our reasons why this doesn't work, I think that last bit feels like you're telling me I have the skills to do this job. And sure, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not bad. But I'm like, well, obviously you think that. I don't really want your opinion on whether you think you could do this job, because of course you think you could do this job. You wouldn't have applied, you wouldn't be sitting in front of me if you didn't think you could do this job. It's up to me to work out if I think you're the person that we need out of the other options. It's not your responsibility as a candidate to make that call, because again, you don't have all the information, nor could you, and you don't know what the other options are for me to hire. So how are you meant to compare yourself? You can't. Our goal is that we're not trying to do that.
Yes. And also, yeah, like we said, there wasn't enough details. So you're not able to actually imagine what that person was like in action with the client.
Yes, exactly. It's very hard to imagine what that meeting looks like. I don't even really have a clear picture of who that client is. It sounds like they're just maybe just an angry person and they just needed some check-ins. And that kind of translates across to the skills that I can kind of understand about you from that story. So I can't tell what level your skills are at. You might have just come into a client where your previous account manager who looked after them didn't ever check in on them. Maybe that was mostly the issue. And so you haven't told me that. I don't know if that's the case or not, but maybe just you checking in was half the battle, right? It was actually just that they needed to be listened to. But I'm not really sure if that's the case or not, because I don't know what the problem was that you solved and what the main issue was. The client was just complaining a lot and we don't really know why. They were just saying, hey, do it faster. Also, problem-solving skills. Maybe you just asked your boss, hey, this client's really angry and they're threatening to leave. Can we prioritize all their work and make it happen faster? And maybe your boss said, yep. Cool. I mean, it's problem solving.
Yeah, maybe for the sake of they're like, oh God, this client is so bloody annoying. We're bumping them to the top of the line so we don't have to deal with them.
Hey, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of these things being the case, but it's because I don't know which one of those things it is. I don't know if you came up with like a brand new way to prioritize their jobs or to like help the operations team become more efficient so that they could get more jobs done faster. Like I have no idea what was involved in that problem solving. And so therefore I can't tell whether it means that you're creative, like how much teamwork was involved, like how much you had to know about the operation in order to get that done. Like I just can't extrapolate those skills. And therefore, I don't have any opportunities to go, oh, wow, yeah, we have that issue too. Or, oh, yeah, that kind of thing would work here as well. Oh, yeah, that is a really important skill for this role. So I'm not able to link it back to the job as the interviewer. Even though you've like, quote unquote, linked it back at the end, I can't actually link it back.
Leveling up your job interview skills is the kind of thing that will pay off for the rest of your career. When you prep properly, it's something you can use over and over and over again. Think promotions, unexpected layoffs, and when you're ready for your next move in a few years.
Enter our course, Interview Academy. It's a clear, easy to follow interview prep structure. Everyone loves the cheat sheet. Filling in each box is super satisfying and helps you focus on the important thinking, not the process. Find out whether it's right for you. interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link will be below.
Yes. So we have an alternative. You've dubbed this the smarter way to do it.
Yes. And it's just really doing what we already say with your interview answers, really, is the crux of it. But to be a bit more specific, you can choose your examples a bit cleverly. Like I've talked to plenty of interview coaching clients about this, where they go, well, I've heard from someone that works there that they've currently got this big project and they're dealing with XYZ, and I've actually worked on that same thing before. So I want to make sure I tell that story. Like that's going to be one of my top best bits. Great. Incredible. Those are the opportunities that you have to make it really easy for them to link it back because you're choosing really relevant examples. Now, I don't want you completely cherry picking things that perfectly match. They still should be your best bits. Like it should be that they already made it into your best bits because they're just good stories, but you're kind of maybe changing the priority order of them or something like that. You're probably already doing this, which is great. That's such a more powerful way to link it back. Now that we've got that out of the way, because I think that's kind of the obvious answer, second option is we make our answers strong. And by strong, I mean not that they use fancy words or that they sound good. Like that answer we just gave sounded great, sounded really good. Good structure, used all the right keywords, not a strong answer. You need to share your process. You need to share your thinking. You need to share your how, your why. Why did you think that? How did you notice that? How did you know who to speak to? Whatever's relevant to the situation, you're giving details. You're explaining the issue. You're explaining the solution. Now, that might sound like, oh, that's going to take forever. It's going to be way too long. You just need to be strategic about which details are important so that I can actually imagine what happened. Maybe it's not important how you knew to speak to the operations manager. That's not relevant. Maybe it is though, because actually you had to really hunt down who the right person to speak to was. That was part of how much you wanted to get this solved. And that's part of the skill that you want them to see, is that this was hard. You had to ask for this person, get referred here, your email bounced around. You had to follow up all these times to finally get a meeting with the operations team. And then you were able to ask them a simple solve. But it was the follow-up part that was actually the key to the story. Great. Well, then that's, the thing that you want to focus on.
Yeah, doing it this way allows the interviewers to be the one to link it back to the job themselves instead of trying to do that part for them. So much better option. Now, ask me again the interview question and I'm going to give a different answer that stops trying to do this essay English linking.
Yes. This question is going to be slightly different because I cannot remember exactly what I said, but the vibes will be the same. So, Emma, in this role, you'll have a variety of different clients that you need to work with, and it's important that you're able to manage clients that might even be a bit difficult at times, coming with requests and problems, and part of your role will be to work with them to solve those problems. Can you tell me about a time you've done that before?
Yeah, definitely. So at the printing company that I used to work at, there was one particular client who accounted for a lot of repeat business, but the relationship wasn't good when I started. They would send through urgent requests for a product launch or a big event, and when we gave them our expected turnaround time, they'd tell us that it wasn't good enough and demanded really that their jobs be pushed to the top of the line. Our printing followed a really set process. There was schedules and resources allocated based on capacity and forward planning. So by the time I became involved, they were complaining almost weekly and threatening to leave to a competitor, which was not good. So I booked a meeting with the main contact and asked lots of questions to understand their point of view. So it turned out that the issue wasn't actually our turnaround time. They felt that their team would submit something that they needed done in a month, but not hear back from us until the next week. So when our team did respond, there was often questions because the request didn't actually include all the information. So this could blow out precious time that we could have been spent actually making the order on just clarifying admin. So their main frustration was that they couldn't predict from us when something would come back. They felt like they were nervous and just waiting and had, bad communication. Orders that they thought were simple would sometimes actually have a feature that, in our eyes, made it a custom, more complex job. So there was a mismatch in their expectations and the reality. So, a lot of their frustration with us came from the chasing and back and forth that they were getting from their internal stakeholders. So I ended up speaking with our operations team about what was going on. And this client was kind of notorious for being difficult. So the team were all ears to try and, try something to stop the constant conflict. So we couldn't change how custom jobs were scheduled or get them done any quicker. But I asked if the ordering team could acknowledge each request the same day. So the operations manager and I worked out the details. They would flag whether it was simple or complex, check that all the basic information was there, and then give the client a rough estimate for completion before the project was actually picked up. So that really gave the client much more visibility and meant that they could set their expectations within their internal teams. If something did have to be done faster, then they had the opportunity to change a few elements. Maybe they could remove the complex parts so that it was quicker for us to produce. And after a couple of months, they were really happy with how things were going. The complaints stopped, and now they're actually one of my easiest clients.
What do you think of that?
So much better. The detail. Listening, I'm like, well, I would be frustrated too if I'm hearing crickets and then your team is like getting back being like, oh, and is that in A4 or A3? And I'm like, this is urgent. Like, shouldn't you know that already?
But also the internal team's like, well, how are we meant to do it if we don't know what size you want? Like, everyone's frustrated at each other. They're like, yeah, we're trying to do it urgent, but you didn't give us the details. You've been chasing this job that didn't have full paperwork.
Yeah, 100%. And such simple clarification. And I love this tactic because, replying the same day, it makes you feel in control. Like the client feels like, oh, good. Okay. Yep. They've acknowledged it. It's not in the void, in the ether. They're onto it. And it just, even the perception, even if I bet the turnaround time wasn't any different, but just their perception of the experience was a whole lot better.
And that came from understanding what their actual issues were. Because when they ask the questions of the client, well, what are the actual issues? And they're trying to understand. It doesn't sound like, oh, everything's always late. It's actually, oh, it's not really the turnaround time. It's more that there's all this back and forth and wasted time and we can never predict and we don't understand and we just don't know where things are at. And we're calling and checking and going, where's it at? What's going on? Oh, it hasn't even been picked up yet. And then we find that we've waited all that time, we've chased it, and then it comes back to us with questions and we just get like, oh my gosh, why wasn't this looked at before? It could already be in the queue. We've missed our spot in the queue. Like, it's all of that frustration. So I want you to imagine that this story and the other story that we told are the same person and the same example that they're telling. And this was the real story behind your first version. Do you think you did it justice the first time round?
No.
Do you think the interviewer understood everything that went into this whole process?
Definitely not. All I said was we chatted and found a workaround. There was no information.
Right. So we have so many details. There are so many opportunities for the interviewers to do that thing that they do where you're telling a story and they're nodding furiously.
Mm-hmm. Best feeling ever.
It is, isn't it? Because they're thinking, oh my God, I know exactly what you mean. And you might even throw in there, they can be really unreasonable sometimes because they just think that they can just cut to the front of the line. Like it's not that straightforward. And they're going, Like it's so great because that's where like you've found a link between what you're doing now and that company without you going, well, you probably deal with XYZ in your company too. Like you don't have to do that part.
It's like you're being very suggestive. Like you're putting it in front of them and they're eating it up. And you're doing it in the clever, sneaky way without having to awkwardly say, in your company, this would happen. You're giving like the industry innuendo of like, oh, don't we all know how that feels without actually having to make assumptions.
Yes, I have said this to lots of people in coaching calls as well, where they've been hesitant to say something for whatever reason. And often I'm like, I think you need to mention it because the person who works in the same industry as you is going to completely understand what you're talking about. Like imagine something like, well, I was working for a marketing agency, but, the pace of the agency world just really wasn't right for me. Like you're kind of hinting at like, they work you like a dog. I don't know. And if they're in the industry, they're going to be like, oh yeah, oh, I know what you mean. Oh, it can be really cool. You learn a lot, blah, blah, blah. But like, oh yeah, totally got it. Like you're able to kind of do that thing where you're like, you know what I mean? You know what this can be like. And you're able to make those connections. The more details you give, the more opportunity for me as an interviewer to nod and think, oh yeah, we deal with that too. Oh yeah, that sounds really similar. Oh my gosh, yeah, custom jobs. Oh, they never realize. Oh, they ask for this and they think it's simple, but actually that color is really hard and blah, blah, blah. It sounds like it would be easy, but it actually needs to do X, Y, Z.
Can I just interrupt? I'm watching The Office at the moment and this is just reminding me, this printing company is just reminding me of Dundler Muffin or whatever it's called.
Dundler
Miffin.
What did you call it? Dundler Muffin.
Dundler Muffin. I've been watching it with my blue collar partner and he's like, is this what your office is like? And I'm like, yes, like it actually is. It is so accurate. I recommend rewatching it. It is 100% corporate life where everyone, like the characters, the like jargon, I'm like, oh God, they've just nailed it.
Yeah. I loved Utopia. It's by the ABC. I worked in Canberra for a whole bunch of years and lots of my friends worked for the government. I never did directly, but the whole of Canberra, you just kind of understand. And Utopia is an incredible Australian office comedy and it's almost sometimes not funny and you're like, I can't actually watch this because it's just real. It's just a documentary. Like it's meant to be funny, but it's just so spot on.
Triggering.
Yeah, they do this one like line. And I think what I've noticed with doing coaching sessions with people from all around the world, the government is the same everywhere. Like these things are all transferable. Like education is really similar across the world. Like there's so many commonalities. There's this one episode where there's a girl who comes in and basically doesn't do any work and she's just joined the department. And one of the managers comes over to her boss and is like, it's not working. Like we need to get rid of her. What do we do? Like, how do I deal with it? And he was like, oh, well, you don't want to have to performance manage her. She's like, yeah, well, I can do that. He's like, but you would have to involve HR. And she's like, well, okay, well, what are my other options then? It's like, oh, well, could you get rid of her role? And she's like, yep, without needing someone to do it after she was gone. Oh, no. Can you promote her? What? I don't want to promote her. Well, you're going to have to performance manage her. Okay. He's like, it involves HR. And she goes, okay, I said I'll do it. It's just the funniest thing. And then HR ends up coming in and she hasn't been giving feedback properly and she's like, she should just know that she's not doing her job. And anyway, the girl ends up getting promoted and it's just hilarious. They have a big party for her like, oh, she's done so well and she's off to another department. just so they could get rid of her. And it's like, well,
Anyway, side note, this printing company is Dundler Muffin vibes.
yeah. Dundler Muffin. I found it really hard to like come up with real scenarios because like you need to give real details. This wasn't from anyone that I've spoken to. I had to like make this up, but I wanted it to be nice and specific because you have to give details. So I wanted you to be able to imagine this scenario when you're listening to it. The other great thing about this answer is that I can understand and see this person's thinking and their problem solving. Like I can see that you understand this client and their business and you understand their problem. You've asked enough questions that you've gained a full understanding of what they care about and what they don't and what the real issues are and what would potentially solve it then. So I'm really understanding that you must have asked really good questions. You must have been really curious. You must have helped them open up to you. You must have been open to like coming up with different options in terms of a solution. Like you've reached out to someone. So you've like gotten in touch with a different department. You've collaborated on a solution that's completely new that we've never done before. Like side note, why wouldn't they acknowledge the orders and give a time frame up front? But like, you know, whatever. Plenty of this stuff is really common. And so I can understand how you understand the internal operations of your own business as well. Like there's so many skills that I'm hearing and able to see that I'm then like, wow, you would understand our operations like that. You would work with our operations teams to make sure you weren't like completely changing the way that they do things. Like I'm able to connect the dots and I'm linking it back.
Yes. So we're not against linking it back. The concept makes sense. We're trying to show connections and similarities in what we do. And if you ever do have opportunities to connect and say like, yeah, I've done XYZ too, that's a good thing. And I often think the best place to do this is at the start of the example. When you go, yeah, that's something I do all the time, you give a general statement. And then you go into your interviews like, yeah, I'm really comfortable with that. You know, I do that all the time. Here's an example.
Oh yeah, you always get difficult clients, don't you? It's a part of the role. Like you can do whatever you want in terms of your own personality to start that off, if you like.
Yeah. But the idea that we need to shove this link back in, just insert it in there, is just throw that in the bin. Forget about it. That's just weird. And it's just much better off making your answers better and let that do the bridging and the aha and the connecting and let them furiously nod through that.
Yes, we're going for the furious nodding. Like that's really what we're trying to achieve. I also think other opportunities to do the linking it back are where they might be telling you a little bit about their company and like their team and like, oh, well, what we need from this role is that we've grown and blah, blah, blah. We've got this issue and that issue. You might be able to ask them some questions. Oh, is that because of the new blah, blah, blah that I saw that you'd opened in that place? Is that, oh, yeah, okay. And I'm assuming that that's meant that XYZ is having to work on two different areas and that's always really challenging. And they're like, yeah, exactly. Like that's where you're showing that you understand what they're doing. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying if you're desperate to link it back and you're desperate to show them, oh, yeah, I've done that before too, those are your opportunities. You can say, oh, yeah, I had a similar issue when we were expanding at my last company, really familiar with all those kind of things. You don't need to be turning it into a full story, but those are your little moments in the conversational elements that might come up to do the linking it back.
Yeah, it's reminiscent for me, the linking it back forced statement, like of a primary school house captain speech where it's like, and that's why I would vow to do this and I would put soft drink in the bubblers and like I would be a great representation and I don't know, it's like a pledge or something.
And what do you even say in those speeches? That's why people say ridiculous things because it's like, who's even voting based on what the person says in their speech? Like, what kind of school captain even really do? Like, I just don't even, they don't really, it's like a ceremonial role basically. Like,
yeah, nothing's changing on the playground.
Particularly in primary school. Like, Although I think I'm pretty sure this was right. In my infants school, so it's like the lower levels of primary school.
Elementary school.
Is that what it's called? I never know which is like elementary and middle, and that confuses the hell out of me. I don't understand how those fit together, like what grades they are or whatever. But this was like a kinder 1 and 2 campus. It was a really, really small school. And I'm pretty sure it was the school captains and like the sports captains or like the leaders or whatever who would get to ring the bell. And back then it was a very, very small campus. Ringing the bell meant holding a little handheld bell and ringing it as loud as you possibly could for recess, lunch, beginning of the day, end of the day. Ding!
Like a cowbell in a paddock.
Yeah, like as loud as you could.
So it wasn't a big rope that you'd swing your body weight off.
No, it was just a little handheld bell.
It's just like, cows, dinner.
Yeah.
Come in. That's insane.
Yeah, basically. It was so small.
Do you know that these days most schools have a song that they play?
Really? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, my radio station did a segment on it recently, and they did a phone topic of like, call up what's your kid's bell song, and people were calling up like, my kid's one is Flow Rider, Welcome to My House, or like and random songs, and the parents end up hating it because that song just like plays on repeat, and people who live nearby hear the same song over and over again. So I think the school bell, rest in peace.
Why did I think that it was just like a series of beeps or something? Maybe I'm thinking of like when there's an announcement and we've been in a school.
Some still are. No. Some still are.
Like something like that.
Last year, I lived next to a school for 3 years. Like a year ago, I had been living across the road from a school. I stopped living next to a school a year ago,
Emma.
but
This is not a
had
good
been
interview
living
answer. You should have prepared more.
And one day it started going off at midnight, and it was like na 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 na, and it was so annoying, and it kept me up all night. And then when the school finally opened the next day, I had to be Karen and call up and be like, yeah, hi, hello, your school bell was ringing all night long. Can you please check that for me? And she was like, oh, goodness me. Oh, I wouldn't think so. Oh, let me just look into that. And I was like,
can you do the hi, hello again, please? That was amazing. I hope you really said that.
I can't remember what I said. Yeah, hi, hello. The school bell ringing all night kept me up. It was 12, 1.
What did she say? No, it can't be.
She was like, I wouldn't think so. I was like, what does it sound like? What's your bell sound like? Is it like and I had to imitate it. I was like, does it go like this? And she's like, oh, yeah, it does. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me call the maintenance crew to look at it. It is automated. Anyway, and I just thought I'm a community hero. How many neighbours were also up all night and thought, what the hell is that? Whereas I knew that it was the school bell.
And this was obviously her first call, because it's not like she was like, yes, we know.
No, yeah. And that night I sat up with my clock. I was like, does it dare to do it again? And it didn't.
Hi, hello.
Crazy work. Anyway.
Do you know, you mentioned something before, and it has to be our last little moment, because you said something can get in the bin. And I just really need to have some feedback from our listeners. Does that phrase make sense?
No, because they say trash.
Because it's not a bin. I know. Or get in the trash, get in the rubbish.
It is, but
I don't know. It's just not the same. It's a bin.
Are you trying to say that doesn't make sense for us or just to our audience?
No, I'm just wondering, like, I don't know if someone heard that and was like, I don't know what that means. What's a bin?
Yeah.
I'm just interested, like, do you kind of understand it? You're like, oh, we wouldn't say that, but like, yeah, I get it. Or were you like, what? I'll get in the trash. It doesn't work as well when you have to swap it to trash. It's get in the bin. Like, it's just really direct.
But it's from the M&M ad. You get in the bin. Oh, no, that's the bowl. Get in the bowl. You get in the bowl. Get in the bin. You suck.
You had me convinced for a second. I was like, yeah, it was from that. No, it's not.
Let me look that up. You get in the bowl ad.
It's bowl.
Wow, that first came out in 2010. That's a vintage ad. People will be cringing that I just said 2010 is vintage.
That is definitely vintage. Yeah. I wonder whether everybody will know Ben from Bluey.
Yeah.
People who have kids and watch Bluey, I feel like that's been doing a lot of help translating for us.
Heavy lifting for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, you could always tell when we were growing up, the kids that watched a lot of American cartoons, because they would say words that you wouldn't hear in an Australian context. And then now I wonder if that's happening in reverse. It probably is.
About time, I say.
Yep, little Uno reverse. Okay, that was a really, really valuable episode, I think. Let us know if you liked it. Thanks for listening to Interview Boss. If you want to request an episode on your specific conundrum or industry, send us the details. Email us or slide into our Instagram DMs. But if you DM us on Instagram and you're not following us, Emma won't be happy and she will judge you.
I really will.
We believe in paying it forward, so if we've helped you, spread the word. You know the drill. Follow, review, find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. It all helps. Or you can go the old school way and tell someone else about the show. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.